All right, with us now, Denny Salas, Democratic political strategist, perhaps the best-dressed man in Democratic politics. Wright, Associate Research Scholar, Lecturer in Politics and Public Affairs, Princeton University. Great to have both of you.
I agree.
Thank
He's
you. Yeah,
very best
very
dressed,
dapper.
hands down.
Great outfit as well.
I'm just here, okay? So, Denny, how about this? Are we going to get from Tim Walz something more specific than I grew up in a middle-class family?
Yeah, and I think what he's going to do is going to be far more relatable than a typical politician. When I was thinking about this a little bit earlier, he's going to come off, and probably some of my folks on my side of the aisle may hate me for saying this, but he's going to be the Democratic male version of Sarah Palin. He's going to do a kind of like a Joe Six-Pack type of thing where he's going to be relatable. He's going to be that everyman, and he's going to tie that type of, I guess, personality to local issues that are really affecting people on a day-to-day basis.
All right. To be fair, didn't work out so well for Sarah Palin.
Did not.
Okay. So, but there's an interesting thing that he's done, right, is that on the issue of whether or not he was truthful about his military service, which he has not been, on the issue about whether he was truthful on whether or not his wife got IVF or not, which he was not, shall we say, specific. Now there's questions about whether he was actually in China or not when he said he was, about stories about Tiananmen Square. He's sort of played off, I'm just the good old boy, I just am folksy, that's just sort of the way I talk. Do voters relate to that, Lauren?
Yes, but because of those missteps, he's been put on such a tight leash as of late, and we've seen that in his campaign appearances. There's not so much of this off-the-cuff stuff. There's not so many one-liners, and so the risk for him is being so over-prepared that he can't speak extemporaneously, which is his strength, and then J.D. Vance could come in with the policy substance and do all the things Trump didn't do in the first debate.
So there's also a risk, though, right, of you're so leashed, you're so scripted that that muscle, that experience isn't there over the past month.
But you also have to remember that the traditional role for that vice presidential candidate is going to be to attack the top of the ticket.
Right, that's all you do.
Like, yeah, at the end of the day, they're not voting for the second person, right?
They're not though. But when but look, 2 assassination attempts.
Yeah.
There's a lot more focus on the vice presidency than there ever has been before.
Sure.
This is from CNN. Heading into vice presidential debate, Tim Walz is fighting nerves. So the leaks tell you where people are trying to be worried about. How's debate prep going? One person in an exclusive high-dollar fundraiser asked Walz as he stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling windows in mega donor Alex Soros's penthouse living room in Manhattan on Monday. Nothing says man of the people like Soros's Manhattan penthouse. But as teachers, Walz said, we are trained to answer the question, and we train our students to answer questions. The person recalled Walz saying, that's not how this goes. That's sort of the prebuttal, Lauren, right, for saying, I'm not going to answer anything, and the media is going to say he's just being folksy.
And that will add to the problem that Harris has had, which is the accusation that she hasn't articulated any of her record, and she's a huge unknown, which is a lot like Trump was in 2016, by the way, and it was a very, very close election. The problem with underestimating J.D. Vance, and he's said weird stuff in the past, and he's made comments that have hurt the campaign, but he is a very polished messenger when he wants to be. He is in a much better position to sell the Trump campaign's message on all these economy issues, immigration issues Republicans are dominating on. And so I would be concerned if I were Democrats looking at the polling that they're very overconfident right now.
I mean, look, with J.D. Vance, yes, the reason why he was picked also is because he was someone that's able to articulate the MAGA policy platform and to do it in a relatable way. So, yes, there's a...
Well, and to defend it.
And defend it, yes, exactly. And he is going to be sharp, and he's a very good debater. But you can also look, New York Times actually did a great analysis that they released actually a couple hours right before the start of the show, where they broke down the historical debates from both Walz and J.D. Vance. What you will see in the history and the way that Walz has performed during debates, he's done very well. He's quick. He can play off his opponent.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything that you're seeing...
So we now know the headline on Wednesday in the New York Times. Yeah. Tim Walz, quick. there we go. Okay, look, now we've said what the debate's going to be about. We've given you the coverage on Wednesday. Yeah. You all guys are always welcome back. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.